What's up, guys? I know you've been just looking at me for some time. Anyway, so I just named the stream. What's the temperature of your work? Who's ready? Who's ready? Who's ready for another check-in Tuesday? It's not another, actually. It's the first one I've ever done. Anyway, so the idea. It's the temperature. It's the temperature of what you're working on. Anyway, once again, it's Kenyo. You guys know that. And this is also a podcast, so get the audio version if you don't like listening on YouTube because it turns off when you close your app. And I kind of just wanted to talk, on like Tuesdays. What are Tuesdays like? For me, Tuesdays are kind of like flowy days. Like the flow's going. You establish the flow on Monday. You kind of like woke up a little weird. You're like, okay, it's a new week. Let me get ready. You stretch. You look around. You start to get your stuff. Oh, sorry. I still haven't put any art on the walls. It's going down, though. I'm going to go get pins today. But anyway. And by Tuesday, it's like, okay, take a look at what you're doing. Do you like the flow? Audit the flow a little bit. What were some hiccups that you had on Monday? And, yeah. I also just dropped, took me 3 tries, but I dropped a new song. Well, Nigerian XO released a new song, which you might know is, he features on my channel a lot. Some say it's just me with a Nigerian accent. Some say they'd be right. It's not what I'm here to say. Not at all. So, but I put that out there, and that is part of my flow right now. I feel like my temperature is hot. Why? Because I was just doing all this traveling, and I'm trying to slow down. And when you get something that was going at high speeds in a large space, and you bring it to even smaller space, the speeds go even crazier. And so that's what's happening. The speeds are going even crazier. I forgot I was going to change this shirt. I wear it in too many different videos. One of my first Kenya Poetry Lives, I was also in the shirt. Actually, I think the first one I was in the shirt. Because I was getting rocked. This is a super dope shirt, though. Anyway, so, what do you use heat for? When you're in that state and everything's flying around, what are you going to use that heat for? That's the question that's posed to me. And the answer that I got for you, the answer that I have for you is use it to heat stuff. I think that gets back to my question of what's the temperature? Heat is not just heat, unless you're using it in a very crude way. You need to know the exact temperature because that has to do with, what can be used with it, what kind of materials. And it's just a way to think. You guys might know that I put out different things, like the meditation kit that I put out recently. And it's all just to help you think. Because, honestly, usually you're already on the right path, right? Because you're on the you path. No one else can walk your path. I think that's one thing that confuses people. They're like, how come I can't just read and then know how to deal with life? I hate when I hit this roadblock, I hit this roadblock. The only time you're going to be able to be at peace with the things that go down sequentially in your life is when you're at one with yourself. Because then nothing's getting left behind. I should change the title of this video. I'm changing it right now. I'm going into the stream. Actually, I'm going to add to it. I'm going to put, what's the temperature of your work? Insecurity leaving you out in the cold. And cold gets a bad rap, by the way. It's not bad, but it is bad to humans in certain situations. So that's why. It's still relevant. But yeah, at one with yourself. That's the way to handle the hard stuff in life. Being at one with yourself. And I think that's hard, We need to be able to know who we are. to be able to be at one with ourselves. We need to be able to get feedback that respects us, that's honest, and that we can listen to and that we can understand. That's speaking our language. How do we get that? How do we get it? I don't know. I think it is something to think about, but truly, I do not know. But I like to think if we're all on the right path, if we're all on our us path, I would assume that that path would lead you to a version of yourself that is the most true. If you can relax for a second and stop and look around, I think you'll find out that who you are is represented in the things around you. I really would like for you to check out my meditation kit. Check it out if like you're the kind of person who likes to like do stuff like that. I just posted the new one. It includes all of the ones that I've made. I started kind of making these infographics, these tools, these games, these meditation kits. I started making them about 2, 3 years ago. A lot of because Gary Vee was talking about how meditation was going to be the next big wave, but I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, and now I find it very fascinating because I think thought is so important, and our own experience of this life is very important. It has a lot to do with everything else we do, including computers. Computers are basically replicating aspects of our own abilities, but we don't have screens. They're these. I'd have to assume faces are probably better than screens. They are really good. A person's emotions convey so much. Anyway, so what is the temperature of your work? Can you answer that? It's cold. It's not bad. It's not bad to be cold. It's not bad to be cool. It's never bad to be cool. I'm very interested. I'm gonna comment on my videos here. Hey. Anyway, so yeah, this is also on my Kinyo HQ podcast, and this is my Kinyo YouTube channel. And by tomorrow, I might even be. I say tomorrow, but I'm here now. I was gonna say I could go live on. I could go live on Facebook too, maybe. Should we go live on Facebook? I never put the new tags. I'm actually just now re-releasing the new Nigerian XO video. So if you're a fan of the XO, that video, let's just go check that out. Thinking about going live. I'd have to figure it out though, so we'll see about that. Super curious what you guys are up to. It really does. So I'm wondering, are you guys checking out, um, for those of you who are checking out the meditation kit, I really want to get your feel on some of it because this latest one, I'm going to go out and say it quite blankly. Because I realize I'm really shrouded with a lot of stuff, and it doesn't really matter because, um, it's better to just share stuff with people. And I've been working on certain things for a long time, so it's not like you can't. No one can steal the intention of why I'm doing it, and I'm really worried about my abstract ideas on physics being stolen. A little. This probably exists already. I'm gonna say that it most likely does because every time I come up with the new type of idea, I find that it exists. But there's a lot of heave-ha-ho about quantum computers. I was thinking to myself, what is the software for a quantum computer? What should it really look like, or what are we really expecting from it? And I realized that meditation might very well be part of the terminology that you use for something like a quantum computer. Your quantum computer might need to meditate. When you have, I don't know much about the quantum computers, but I was doing a little research. What I understand about computers is that they use a binary system in order to reflect ones and zeros. And those values allow them to store systems, information. I don't want to say information because the information is translated. So the computer is storing is like, it'll store the ones and zeros. I don't really know. But I'm gonna do some more research into it. But I know that the reason why they like quantum computers is because they're not binary. If you can get a atom into a quantum state, then it can reflect infinite or I don't know multiple different values. Or yeah. So anyway, I was looking into some of what they use in computers, and there's like this main component that really made computers possible, and it's called a transistor. Right? And wired transistors, cool because it's a very small thing that allows you to process the value 0, 1. So if you're processing, so if that small thing, you want to replace that with basically an atom that is in a quantum state. And I assume you'd have a bunch of these. It's very interesting. Okay, all I'm saying is that, consciousness is part of what makes up the human brain. And so if we are having atoms in quantum states acting as bits, I could see very much how they would approach what the brain is like, and they're having a lot of trouble in a lot of different areas. Anyway, this is all just stuff made up right now. It's not like I was writing this down or doing any research. It's fun to think about, though. Quantum computers. I feel like right now I'm like the Mr. Rogers of entrepreneurial technobabble. Is there a niche for that? The Mr. Rogers of entrepreneurial technobabble? I think that might actually be a very accurate way to think about what I do. Mr. Rogers of Entrepreneurial Techno. I'm gonna come up with a theme song. What's the Mr. Rogers theme song? Mr. Rogers, won't you be my neighbor? I like that actually. It goes into a lot of what I've been thinking about lately. And Mr. Rogers was like, he was kind of like my first like rock star role model. I was like, that dude's dope. Mr. Rogers always just, he always had it so together.
It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine?
Would you?
Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, might as well say,
YouTube has the rights.
Could you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor?
There's one catalog I would buy
please?
Today.
Won't you please?
It would be Mr. Rogers.
Please, won't you be my neighbor?
It'll be the first thing that I purchased. Okay. That's gonna be my new intro for every episode. I don't know if I'm gonna get sued. Okay. Let me stop before this copyrighted thing gets me in trouble. Anyway, though. Maybe I should just make my own. What do you guys think? Should I just, if I wasn't using GarageBand right now, I would, what was that new app? Someone just told me about an app and it does like, it shows you how to like, it lets you like play piano and stuff like that. I don't remember what it was. Ote showed it to me. Yeah. Anyway, so that's where I'm at, and I think I'm gonna head out. But I am gonna tell you guys that I think another cool aspect of where I am right now for me, and when it needs to be hot, I'm like, well, heat is the most inefficient. One of the most inefficient spatial technologies. And what I mean is just that it's very expensive. It's one of the most expensive things, unless you're talking about short distances. Once you start getting long distances, you're not going to say, oh, let me heat up that room over there by building a big enough fire the heat gets over there. That would be crazy. Heat is all about proximity. And one thing I'm noticing about this period of my life is that it's heavily about heavily, I gotta delete this because this isn't, it's heavily about proximity. And closest lady to me, my wife, Danielle, she's basically what my life is about right now. And, it sounds cheesy, but I think we're just in a weird place in America when it's like, oh, we don't really F with everyone. Everyone's kind of like super duper alone. And then the person that you're supposed to F with the most, you're supposed to also ostracize and like get as far away from you as possible. It's like, oh, time to go do ladies' night, guys' night. All right, yeah, now I need some family time. Now I need you to understand this about this. So we can't work together, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is your like main person. And people think that because of where business went, large businesses disenfranchised um, us with all this the stuff that they have is ours, and including their ideas, like all of it. It's all our stuff, and they have lots of rules around it. And then they even make it so you can't do business in your house legally, depending on where you live. Mostly, probably like 90% of people. And then they won't. And then so that made the domestic inferior. They've made the domestic inferior. When in actuality, I was thinking about this while driving earlier. What would you say is the most important job? I'm not going to wait for you to answer because if you don't know, you don't know. It would be taking care of the people who are going to govern the next generation. And yet, we somehow think that, I don't know, it's just very strange. So that's definitely the most important job, which is why the other person's job was to protect that person, to protect the person, one of their jobs. Other than that, there's a lot that went along domestically. Everybody, now we're getting back there with the internet, but everyone's car used to be an Uber. Everyone's house used to be an Airbnb. They stripped those things away from us. Everyone used to be able to make their stuff in their house, sell their stuff without any regulations, taxes. There were always taxes, actually, without any, and there were always regulations, but without the current kinds of regulations, and the regulations are good. They help us. All I'm saying is, thanks to technology, we're getting back to a place where it's a really good idea to focus on the household. So, ask yourself today, is the temperature of my business suitable for my household? I'm going to leave you guys with that. It's Kenyo the poet here. I'd read you a poem, but I'm actually checking right now, seeing what I have most recently written on this computer. I haven't written a lot of stuff on this computer, so you're not getting a poem. Alright, fine. I'll give you a poem. This is the most recent poem that I posted here, and it goes like this. There are dreams with windows on their shoulders, and feelings with dresses on their curves, and me, adjunctly adjacent, breathing peace. That's my little poem. That's my little poem. I hope today that I made room for your peace, your relaxation. Thank you for making room for me. Bye. Oh, and sorry, we probably turned this off already, but subscribe on YouTube and go check out the podcast. Subscribe to the podcast, and then also go to my website, kenyo.org, and you can subscribe to get new posts in your email. Do that because every time I share a post, I want it to communicate to you. Like it's a whole little network. The more people that when I send out something, it goes to you. And I do put in work to make sure that I'm getting stuff for you guys, and I want to do more and more as far as providing you with products that help you rest. And I'll be doing a lot of that through Project Forward, but I'm also going to be doing a good amount of it through Kenyo. First and foremost, really, because it's just faster with Kenyo for me. But, all right, guys. See you later.